Maybe we should do a school hymn podcast.
Oh, amazing. Just us all singing. Give me joy in my heart, keep me here. Give me joy in my heart, I pray.
Give me joy in my heart, keep me something.
Keep me something till the break of day.
Sing Hosanna, sing Hosanna,
sing Hosanna to the King of Kings.
Wasn't that Jonathan King?
That's 100% going to be the start of the podcast.
The episode.
100%. If you don't use that, Cleaver, you're mad. Are we recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to say, very slim notes on this.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Good grief. I'm genuinely surprised.
I come here not to praise Caesar, but to bury him.
Britain. An ancient kingdom with legends of violence, cruelty, and torment in its blood. Join your hosts, Ross, John, and James, as they bravely tread where few would dare. Witness their journey into the horrific history of British horror. They are the General Witchfinders.
So, ladies and gentlemen, goblins and ghouls, welcome back to the 24th episode of the General Witchfinders podcast. I'm James in Bournemouth in southern England.
I'm John Pountney in South Wales, which is in the south of Wales.
And I'm Ross in Dorchester in southern England. Welcome, fool. You have come of your own free will to the appointed place. The game is over. Come, it is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man.
Cleaver going for his RADA.
Amdram.
I could a tale unfold, whose lightest word would harrow up thy soul, freeze thy young blood.
Here to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. Where is Rowan Morrison?
If Rowan Morrison existed, we would know.
I suspect murder.
Sergeant, I've already told...
In the name of God, woman, what kind of mother are you? That can stand by and see your own child slaughtered?
You are the fool, Mr. Howie.
You're liars. You are despicable little liars.
Can't be that mad.
Where is Rowan Morrison?
If Rowan Morrison existed, we would know.
I suspect murder.
She was burned. You are the fool, Mr. Howie.
Where is Rowan Morrison?
Oh my God!
So, The Wicker Man is a 2006 horror film written and directed by Neil Labute and starring Nicolas Cage. The film is a remake. No, we're joking. Of course we're not doing that. The Wicker Man is the legendary 1973 British folk horror film directed by Robin Hardy and starring Edward Woodward, Britt Ekland, Diane Cilento, the first Mrs. Sean Connery, Ingrid Pitt, and Big Chris Lee. in his 7th appearance on the General Witchfinders. The screenplay by Anthony Shaffer, who also wrote Frenzy, inspired by David Pinner's 1967 novel Ritual, centres on the visit of Police Sergeant Neil Howie to the isolated island of Summerisle in search of a missing girl. Howie, a devout Christian, is appalled to find that the inhabitants of the island have abandoned Christianity and now practice a form of Celtic paganism. The movie is well regarded by critics. Film magazine Cinefantastique described it as the Citizen Kane of horror movies. And in 2004, Total Film magazine, which I didn't know was still going, named The Wicker Man the 6th greatest British film of all time.
What was number one?
Well, I can tell you that. So
Yeah, go on. Let's have the top 5, please. Have you got the
I got the top 10. Top 10.
top 10? Yeah, fine.
Naked by Mike Lee.
No.
19,
Mark,
yeah.
Yeah.
From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
Number
9.
9.
Brilliant.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Brilliant.
8. Kind Hearts and Coronets.
Brilliant.
Number 6 is The Wicker Man. Number 5, The Life of Brian. Number 4, The Third Man.
Yeah.
Number 3, Train Spotting.
Oh.
Number 2, A Matter of Life and Death.
Yeah.
And number 1, Get Carter.
Oh, interesting.
So not Mel Smith and Griff Rhys-Jones morons from outer space then?
Not the film that Cannonball did, The Boys in Blue.
Blue. Right, okay.
I think there's several films that don't sort of belong on that list in that order, and I think The Wicker Man is one of those films.
Oh.
I think Dr. No is not Dr. No. From Russia with Love is far superior to this. Rosa Klebb.
Yeah. Robert Shaw. Right.
Right. Any film with Robert Shaw is better.
Robert Shaw in it is good. It's true. Right.
Yeah.
So and during the 2012 Summer Olympics opening ceremony, the film was included as part of a sequence that celebrated British cinema. Mental. In 1989, Shaffer wrote a script treatment for The Loathsome Lambton Worm, a direct sequel with fantasy elements. More on that in a bit.
I'd like
if you
to
don't know anything about it.
I don't know. I'd like to know.
It's crackers.
Yeah.
Right, we'll come back to this later. Stay
I've
with
heard
us,
of
everyone.
the Lambton Worm, though. Is the Lambton Worm like a real thing, kind of?
Don't know. Well,
Folklore
James has obviously
thing.
done some research, so we will.
Oh, yes.
Oh, excellent.
Great.
Great.
Of course.
Great.
Hardy had no interest in the project and it was never produced. In 2006, an ill-received American remake, just previously mentioned, was released, from which Hardy and others involved with the original have disassociated themselves. In 2011, a spiritual sequel, directed by Hardy, entitled The Wicker Tree, was released and featured Lee in a cameo appearance. However, there is an argument as to whether he is actually playing Lord Summerisle or not.
Oh,
He is wearing his favourite checked coat, though.
Yeah,
Which he features in every photograph you ever see him wearing.
good. Television actor and The Equalizer, Edward Woodward, was cast in the role
TV's
of
talent.
Sergeant. Exactly, in the role of Sergeant Neil Howie, after the part was declined by both Michael York and David Hemmings. In Britain, Woodward was best known for the role of Callan, which he played from 1967 to 1972. After The Wicker Man, as just mentioned, Woodward went on to receive international attention for his role in the 1980 movie Breaker Morant, and of course, The Equalizer. He was also married to Michelle Detrice, the frequent touchstones of the General Witchfinders podcast and her hearing aid ways. Anyway, so the film was produced at a time of crisis for the British film industry. The studio in charge of production, British Lion Films, was in financial trouble and was bought by wealthy businessman John Bentley. To convince the unions that he was not about to asset strip the company, Bentley needed to get a film into production quickly. This meant that The Wicker Man, a film set during spring, actually began filming in October 1972. Artificial leaves and blossoms had to be glued to trees in many scenes. The production was kept on a small budget. Christopher Lee was extremely keen to get the film made, and he and others worked on the production without pay, something he seems very keen to mention at every opportunity. While filming took place, British Lion was brought by EMI Films. And Ross has added, Iron Maiden released a single called The Wicker Man from their Brave New World album. But I don't think anyone particularly cares.
No one cares about that.
Now, before we crack into this, right, I thought, right, because this is why I realised that podcasting can all get a bit niche and what have you. You know, that's what we're all about. But I thought, I bet there have been absolutely tons of episodes done about the Wicker Man by various podcasts. And there have. And I thought, I'm going to dip into them ahead of time. Yeah. And, I don't want to start a beef, as I believe they call it, with any other podcasters, but they were all absolute rubbish. And that's one of the things that sort of psyched me up for this one. I thought, we are going to do such a better job than this.
I think we already have just by reading the Wikipedia article.
We're going to say, and I'd like to thank Wikipedia for writing the introduction.
We are going to put some heat under this. Because, like I said, I very much doubt any other podcast or history of the Wicker Man will have brought attention to the role and prominence of sherbet dibdabs in newsagents in Great Britain, which is what my notes consist of.
Are you going to? You mentioned that on the other day on Twitter. So are you going to reveal the link, or is this going to come up through conversation?
Let it come up naturally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't let daylight in on magic.
I've got to say that watching this film, the scales fell from my eyes about the Wicker Man.
That's interesting.
And I think it's a bit of a straw man to enlarge that metaphor. But besides Britt Ekland, I didn't find much to enjoy in this film. I've got to be honest.
Wow, I got to say, I've watched it as usual. I watched it in time for a recording,
17 times.
which didn't happen. So then I needed to rewatch it to remind me. So and also as we go through,
Cleaver's The Memory of a Goldfish.
It's only an hour and a half for us.
I had to watch the film on Monday, and then by Tuesday I'd forgotten who I was.
But by that point, I've watched 6 other films.
In a verge.
I haven't woken up in a verge for at least 6 months. First time I watched it, I was like you, John. I watched the final cut, and I was like, this is nowhere near as good as I remember it being. I think the strangeness of it all was no longer strange because it was something I was expecting, and I was going to say I think this is like the Emperor's New Clothes of horror films,
which is 100% what it is. I think.
However, watching it again, I'd be watching it on my in my lunch breaks with the commentary on there, and actually, I'm starting to come round again and enjoy it again. I don't know. It might be one of those ones where you've got to be in the mood.
Yes, okay. I think that's 100% the case because I haven't been in a great mood watching it, and it's not the best film. Knowing what's coming, it's not the most enjoyable rollicking fun because at the same time I've been watching a film from a few years previously called Scream and Scream Again, which has got Vincent Price.
It's on our list.
Oh, is it? It's brilliant. It's really camp. It's bizarre. It's got someone from Last of the Summer Wine in it. It ticks all the boxes for the things I enjoy, which is stupidity, failed British sitcom characters, badly made, flawed production quality. Peter Cushing's in one scene. Vincent Price only seems to be in one scene. But this really is just quite an adequate and well-made film, isn't it?
Interesting.
And there's not a lot which is kind of...
I think it suffers from something similar to the Hellraiser, in as much as it's something which was made based on taboos. And it was like, okay, so Hellraiser had the whole sort of sex taboo and S&M taboo and stuff. And isn't this shocking?
Jelly. For fat goths.
Yeah.
On jelly on bums.
There we go, jelly on bums. Whereas I feel like this was all like, paganism.
Free love.
But boobs, paganism. Isn't that divergent and weird and a little bit like, and I think maybe that's why Christopher Lee. Who's Christopher Price? I don't know. Vincent Price and Christopher Lee. Why Christopher Lee? I think I don't know. He seemed very, very excited about the whole idea of it. And
Well, he knew he was going to see Britt Ekland topless, didn't he? So he was like,
"What more can you want?
I'll do it for free."
And sing.
Yeah.
And
You'd like to sing.
break out the pipes.
Yeah, well, didn't someone say they read on Twitter that you should watch it as a musical, and it was I think,
was that David Llewellyn? Because I was going to say also this is a musical.
Yeah.
There's too much music.
Yeah.
More on that in a second.
Watching it, I was thinking they should do this as a stage musical.
That's literally what I've written as well. I can't believe that someone like Matt Berry hasn't done this as a musical.
Yeah.
Because all the music is there.
Yeah.
And the songs are really good.
Well, yeah. I used to have it on CD. Back when I always walked past Virgin Megastore on the way to college and always bought some, I'd go and buy myself a £22 CD,
a sleeper t-shirt.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, I was listening the other day, and actually some of the songs are actually quite moving. And
it reminds me of War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
that era of like.
Yeah. No, you're not here. No, you're not here. Yeah, Forever Autumn. Okay, should we...
Hold on.
James is desperate to speak.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's right, yeah. Okay, so before we get going and do on this one and get into it, now, I have to confess that I'd never seen it all the way through.
Oh.
I'd only ever seen bits of it prior to this.
And those were Britt Ekland's bits.
and of course, the ending and, iconic. But having watched, and the thing that really struck me was having seen and really enjoyed Midsummer when it came out. As I was watching it, I thought,
which I haven't seen.
It's brilliant. Watch it.
Oh, it's fantastic. But thematically, tonally, this is Midsummer. And they just absolutely ripped it off.
Yeah. I think that's why I haven't watched Midsummer, because the minute I saw what Midsummer was about and I seen Florence Pugh covered in flowers, I was like, that just looks a bit like the Wicker Man.
Because the thing that kind of beguiled me about this is, and it's the same thing that beguiles me about Midsummer, it's the whole not like there's something in the dark and it's going to leap out and grab you and screaming skulls or anything like that, or jump scares. It's that thing of you are somewhere where, number one, you're stuck. There's no way out of this. Number two, you're no longer in control. Events are conspiring against you. And number three, everyone is exceptionally nice to you. And that is the thing that really everyone in this film, right up until, and even even at the end, the final scenes. Yeah. They're all like, ha, ha, ha. And there's something so wonderfully sinister about
What's the line about, you said, well, you get to be the thing which is very rare in these days.
Yeah.
It's become the martyr.
Yeah. But anyway, more on that as we get into it. So come on, let's go.
Okay, which version of the film are we doing?
I watched the one on Amazon, which I think is called The Final Cut.
Yeah, right. I think that might be the one I watched as well.
Which I don't think is as good as the proper version, which I have seen before. And I think the new version, this Final Cut, actually spoiled my reading of the film. I think the original theatrical cut actually has more impact because there's the signposting of weird stuff in the version I watched is really obvious. And I've just to drop in, I do remember, like you, Cleaver, in Cardiff in potentially 1998, buying this on VHS somewhere and watching a version which was also the final cut, but is a different final cut to this final cut, where you see Awa Wuwa as the policeman in somewhere on mainland Scotland with two of the police officers.
Yeah, so that's in the director's cut, I think.
But that's a very bad print.
Yes, because they had like a version which got sent somewhere, and they've lost the negatives and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really complicated, really long, convoluted story about why it's lost. And
quite boring.
Yeah, and in the commentary I was watching, Mark Kermode was trying to bring that out of the director and Christopher Lee. But all of them were just contradicting each other. I don't think any of them can remember exactly what happened.
No, what the hell happened? The only thing that I've heard from that, or to really bring people's attention if they're not aware, is that there's a terrific urban legend that says that there's a print of it, the proper final print is buried in the foundations of the M25.
Yeah.
And that for reasons why they're very, very nefarious.
Yeah.
But it's like, we've got to do away with this. Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, so the version I watch starts off with Edward Woodward taking communion in church, which is meant to be like a mirror of what happens at the end, obviously.
With slightly dodgy sound and slightly dodgy print, I thought.
I put that, obviously, because it starts off with a bit of hymn action, and my immediate notes was they should have gone with something from the Come and Praise hymn book from schools. And then that let me, I had to pause the film and look to see if there was a copy of the Come and Praise hymn book on eBay available. Because I suddenly thought, I feel I need to own it.
Was it blue?
Was it blue? Let me show you. Let me show you. That one.
Yeah. I remember a blue version of that. I think there was a brown one and then there was a blue one.
So we used to have our hymns on an overhead projector.
Yes.
And the sort of the DV kids would be the ones who were allowed to like roll up roll it up while we were singing it.
Politically
and one of them used to sit there and turn his eyelids inside out and flick his tongue at us while we were singing.
In my school, on the OHPs, and you can't put this in, that a boy called put his dick on the overhead projector once and projected the shadow of it up onto the wall. Like, our school was so rough. But Stratford still had the 11+. Yeah. So all the nice kids went to the grammar school and all the idiots went to Stratford High School, which is where Gordon Ramsay went as well.
Wow.
But you can tell the quality of the kids by someone putting his dick on an overhead projector.
So it was often OHP, but sometimes it'd be the slide carousel, and that was exciting when that came on.
You couldn't put your dick in the slide carousel.
No, you get it. No. I'm sure someone did at Harrow Garden.
It was interesting to see that on the eBay listing for it, the pages that you can see inside. Who put the colours in the rainbow?
Yeah.
Classics.
Jubilate, everybody.
Nice.
That was a good one.
Was it on the radio?
Jet planes meeting in the air to be refueled. All the things I love so well, so I mustn't forget. To say a great big thank you. And of course, some kids would shout "wank you." No, I mustn't forget. Clouds that look like familiar faces.
Yeah. My one was cross over the road, my friend. When a car comes round the bend, your life will surely end. Cross over the road.
That's quite creative. Now you see, if they'd gone with any of those for the opening of the Wicker Man, far more chilling.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
the priest in that bit is the director.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. And what's his name?
I can't remember.
Oh, this chair's making horrible noises.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've cracked
And also, we should point out that the film starts off because it says, with thanks to the people of Summerisle.
Yes.
Of course, there is no Summerisle. So quite a nice kind of like,
and then
there is no
with you.
Then you get him flying his seaplane.
Yes, awesome.
With like a TV standard sort of like credits over the screen, I thought. And not one, but two intro songs for the very, very long.
And again, that is so weird. And I've put that, why is there so much music at the start?
Well, the director said it was important for them to do those flights to give everyone a geography of the island. And I was like, no one's taking a fucking notice of what's going on.
I just
all they need to know is that he's had to fly somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you reckon they train all police to fly planes?
In Scotland, seaplanes. And also, I've just put that Scotland looks amazing. I didn't get the geography of the place. Just thought, look at that. Doesn't that look beautiful?
It wasn't Cornwall or somewhere, because I thought parts of this look a bit like Cornwall.
Well, Christopher Lee kept going on about the slipstream in Cornwall. Jetstream, that's it.
Not slipstream.
What's a slipstream?
When something goes past you and makes like a...
Oh, okay. It's not something you make like fizzy pop out of.
Yes, so this is basically a tacked on, the church bit is a tacked on preamble, isn't it?
Yeah.
The original film starts with the plane bit. And I think what you're saying about the titles, Cleves, is that they don't look right. I think they're from now.
Right.
They're not the original, which was probably like Letraset or something, weren't they? Put on something and filmed.
Also, the fact that it says music by Magnet in inverted commas.
Yes.
As if it's like, allegedly.
Yeah, well, Magnet are a band they put together especially for this, because I was trying to get more Magnet stuff to play in the other day. But,
Magnet
by Magnet. Yeah.
Misty flashback. The plane coming in is the real start. The music goes straight in. And straight away, I had a cold feeling. And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. I haven't seen it for a very long time. And from the get-go, it feels like I've said already, like an adequate, proper film, rather than an exciting piece of like gaudy, vulgar trash, which the majority of our films have been. And I think that's what it's like proper actors doing proper roles, and everything's kind of flawless, and it's a bit weird. And straight away, like as soon as he pulls out the photo of Bloody Rowan, I was like, how long have I spent my life looking at indie disco flyers that have got that as the picture? Or like, you know, again, this has been projected, I'm sure, in a million indie discos, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And we've probably watched it with like wide open space over it.
Yeah.
And the black grape over the top.
The Reverend Black Grape. Etc. Vindaloo, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I told John the name of my firstborn daughter was Rowan. He immediately assumed it was named after Rowan Williams. Is it Rowan Williamson?
No, that's the Archbishop of Canterbury.
What's her name in this?
Rowan Morrison.
Morrison. Yes,
Is it Morrison?
Yes, yeah. So come here for all your, spot on Wicker Man facts.
Before we get into the whole picture, we should point out that there's the amazing bit where he turns, and I thought, I really want just one of those little tiny megaphones he's got.
Yeah.
It's not like a full size one; it's just like a little hand one.
You there! Listen to me. I am the law.
Damon Albarn already had one.
And I've just put. He's just got some amazing fuck off, I am the law energy going on here.
I thought he was great. It really put across his character though, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because the people of Summerisle all go, oh no,
fuck off.
You can't come here. No, you're not allowed.
Listen here, you. I am a cop.
He points those stripes.
Yeah.
I'm coming and look for. So I loved all that, and I
but
thought,
what's he going to do if they don't do it? That could be the end of the film.
Yeah.
Bollocks roll. I'm going to get back in the seaplane now.
Yeah.
And then he gets onto Summerisle, and my note is, and I think I've said this before about a few things that we've covered on General Witchfinders, is that anyone who lives inside a large town or city thinks that the moment you get 20 miles outside of a large town or city, this is the sort of shit that's going down behind doors.
Yeah.
The whole time. I was like, this is, straw dogs, the lot.
I have to say it is true of West Wales.
Yeah.
West Wales is the last place I don't ever want to be stranded, and I'm sure some really weird shit goes on in some of these funny little villages. There's some good faces, some good, I'm sure they've used local extras, and the whole kind of production design is great. And then he's going around, he goes in the shop, and there's weird stuff happening in the shop with a chocolate hair, and there's... But
in the sweetie shop.
It feels kind of bloodless to me, and a bit kind of... It's not camp enough. And I've probably learned a lot about myself watching this film, more than I learned about the film, because it was just I want more...
Campness. You can't get much more camp than Christopher Lee in a kilt. So
wait for it.
The landlord, the pub landlord, is very camp, but it's kind of knowing camp, isn't it? Rather than a trashy, we're making 3 of these a month kind of camp. It's like, this is a proper film, darling. And have you heard? I'm making a proper film. Oh, where are you making that, Christopher? Oh, we're making it in Scotland. Are you really? And I'm doing it for no money at all. Are you really, Christopher?
Wonderful project.
Kind of it's a wonder. Anthony Shaffer. Do you know he worked with Hitchcock? Oh, how wonderful. And that's just his wife.
First of all, Howie begins his investigations and starts off in the newsagent. And immediately I was just struck by, a sense of absolute sort of like romanticism for the past. Because, of course, for those of us who remember the early 1980s, this is kind of like 10 years previously. And my thought was, my God, this is exactly what newsagents used to look like.
You can't beat a newsagent. The smell.
Proper sherbet dip dabs had made their way to Summerisle. And for our foreign listeners, what these were, so you can still get them in this country, although I don't think they're quite as magnificent as they once were.
They probably don't have the same colour engine.
True. Tubes, cardboard tubes of sherbet, and inside would be a stick of licorice, which you could then open it up, dip in the licorice, and then eat the sherbet off the licorice. Oh, it was a taste sensation. Yes. It was absolutely lovely. And then you would always get the sherbet down the bottom would get all congealed. Yeah. So you'd have to like crush it all up. But anyway, so to see that, I was like, yes. Now
I used to like the sherbet ones that were a paper packet.
Three pockets. One like
with a stick, like a swizzle stick.
Swizzle stick. Yeah. That's what they were called. Yeah.
One with like a cherry flavour and one with an orange flavour. Yeah. Oh, lovely. My God.
Nice.
Like pure food colouring, wasn't it?
I used to like it when you got one of those things where it had like bubble gum in, but it was like on a plastic thing. Something would be like as tall as you, and you were going to try and get all the bubble gum into your mouth.
Pouring it into your mouth. Amazing. And I noticed that behind the newsagent, like up on a board, that were the following items for sale: pencils, rubbers, and then snuff.
Oh, that's
it just said snuff.
Still and I was
like,
for sale.
Wow, yeah,
that's amazing.
I was like, look, I paused it. I was like, what is that? I was like, Jesus, yeah, you could get some crazy old shit in newsagents, including those like polystyrene planes.
Yes.
That came sort of flat packed.
Yeah.
Which were amazing.
We used to do that in the garden. We used to do in the garden. We throw them off with the climbing frame. And if they landed on the paving stone, they landed in the city. They landed on a dog shit. They landed on a volcano. So they landed on the grass. They gone into the jungle. It was like,
wow. Amazing.
Hey, what you got now?
John's got one.
It's a lovely little focker.
Okay,
that's a Spitfire.
That's a Spitfire.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I saw them, but it's exactly the same, and they still come in the same packaging.
Have you nibbled it? Often I used to chew them. They'd like, don't do that, you've ruined it.
Satisfying. They fly so well.
Yeah.
They fly amazingly well.
We used to have one they were like monsters, and you could like...
Ooh.
Yeah, you swap the wings around and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah, mash them.
So after this wonderful trip down memory lane, Big Edward Woodward is basically told, my daughter's not missing. She's right here. And there's sort of like a young girl there, and there's there's confusion.
It's quite a nice bit though, isn't it? When she says he hasn't got another daughter, but then he asks the girl directly. She says, of course she is. Where is she? She's in the field playing with the other fields.
And she's talking about her hair.
Rabbits.
Yes. And she's painting a picture of her hair, isn't she?
Yeah, and he gets down. Yeah. I did think these days it's like, I'm not sure if people would just sort of like leave their child unattended, even with a policeman. Just, hey, you look after the kids.
No.
And then we're also told as well that the letter has come to Howie personally, hasn't it? It's come to. It's not like come
anonymous
to
letter.
Yes, it's not come to the force, or the general police, or it's just this letter has come to him. And so that's one of the things they don't really explain, which is his motivations for why does he felt so motivated to go and
that is in one of the other cuts where you see all of that. You see him receiving the letter and everything.
Now, once again, this is one of our many touchstones from Midsummer. is that I thought, okay, well, when you watch Midsummer, before they get to Sweden, you have that long preamble at the start where you learn about Florence Pugh's life and all the rest of it. And then I read, as you said, Ross, that, they did film a thing with Howie where you learn that, number one, he's an absolutely devout Christian, that number two, he doesn't drink, and also number three, apparently there's a scene where he's with where he sort of deals with a prostitute or something like that.
Seen that in any
there you go. See, so that's all of that. From then, he then moves on to the pub, the Green Man, one of the touchstones, one of the kind of cult touchstones, along with John Barleycorn in this film. And my notes, I've just written, wow.
Yeah.
Going into the state of the pub.
It's got an amazing sign.
Yeah.
So brightly lit, though, isn't it?
A lot of this film is overlit and badly lit. And there's multiple shadows. This isn't the kind of podcast for me to point out stuff like that. But lots of that stuff really gets on my tits, where it's just so brightly lit indoors that it just doesn't look real. And people have like three shadows, which kind of, again, spoilt it a little bit for me. Where films like Dracula AD 1972 managed quite decent lighting, but then a film like this doesn't manage decent lighting, which I found quite interesting. But the cinematography is pretty good. So it's I think
it's better outside, isn't it?
Yes. But parts of it, I think, feel and look a bit rushed. And I think it's also not helped by, like, some of the footage being like this kind of resurrected footage, which makes it feel quite uneven in places. So yeah, he goes in the pub. It's just mad, isn't it? There's a right jamboree happening. And straight away, I started to feel my hackles rise, because it's this feel of this, like, free love, smug, weird villagers.
Yeah.
And they're not creepy villagers, but they're all just a bit like
happy.
Odd.
They're just
odd. That's what I put. Wow.
Well, they're not happy. They're kind of smug that they're all like swingers.
Yeah.
And it's just very odd. I mean, it's enlivened no end by Britt Ekland's arrival.
Enter Britt.
She'd brighten any British pub, I'm sure.
And I've just put Rod Stewart, etc. That's what you need to know.
Fixing potholes.
Peter Sellers.
That's what he's doing at the moment. Yes, of course, yeah.
This is our first proper song, isn't it?
Much has been said of the strumpets of yore, of wenches and bawdy house queens by the score, but I sing of a baggage that we all adore, the landlord's daughter.
Oh, her lips are...
And then, yes, I put, everyone stop what you're doing and serenade Britt Ekland.
Yeah.
It's a good command. Yeah, the whole pub begin to sing to her. And I've just put, this is like my idea of hell, just sort of like enforced fun in a pub. Everyone sing now!
Yeah.
But when you know what you know about the film, is this all being kind of orchestrated throughout the...
There's a whole year of rehearsals going on.
Because it makes you think, what a bunch of bloody weirdos. Like, get a life. Stop being so smug and weird. Stop singing.
Yeah. I just love the way how he's so uncomfortable, he just gets angry and just starts stropping about.
Yeah. Yep. I like the landlord as well. He's his campus Christmas.
He's a famous mime, apparently.
Oh, is he really? I didn't know that. So then she's dubbed. So Britt Ekland is dubbed.
Yes.
Something which the director denied completely on the commentary I listened to.
Well, that's bullshit. Because it literally says it. Like everywhere you look about this film, doesn't it?
Yeah, because Mark Kummer's going, are you saying, can I just stop this? Mark Kummer's going, can I just stop this? Your category saying she is not dubbed in this film. And they go, no, it's so obvious that she is.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And so how he sees in the pub while all this cavorting is going on, and one of the things that I did think was pretty cool was that there's, back through the years, there's pictures of, for all intents and purposes, the May Queen stood with the harvest. And again, once again, the whole pagan harvest vibes. But of course, there's no picture for 1972, one of our touchstone years.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he's like, why is there no picture for 72? Yeah. Oh, it just fell off. And I did like that. And I did think, that was all really, really cool. He then gets served a plate of the most disgusting looking food in the history. I thought, once again, no wonder Americans think that in our country, you limeys and your disgusting food. It's like, have you watched this film?
It's no sausage shed, is it, John?
Shit. It's not a sausage shed.
It's not dissimilar. I think this scene, I've never noticed it before, but I think this is it's too obvious signposting of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of introduced too soon where, everything's from cans and blah, blah, blah. And like, you don't have blue raw beans, you don't have this, and you don't have this. And it was a bit like, and again, like you say, Cleves, unless you are seeing this for the first time, these kind of scenes kind of rankled a bit with me because it's like, it seemed too obvious and too heavy-footed that they play it this way because obviously they've had a bad harvest and they're having to get everything out of tins.
Or maybe they're just fed up with apples. Non-stop Summerisle apples.
Peaches and cream.
Yeah.
It then kind of cuts to like the pub starts having like a jam session, doesn't it? And I put, did it look like it had been shot on different stock to you?
Yeah.
Again, it's because it's been recovered from another print. They haven't got the negatives anymore, so stuff which has been recovered from this other print had to come from the
that explains that.
Taliesin.
It's the same pub that Led Zeppelin recorded Led Zeppelin 3 in, actually.
Right. Then it starts to get bizarre, kind of not bizarre, but it's like, this is so, I've just put the tone of this film and the sudden shifts of tone are so bizarre that it cuts to like night, evening, and it's sort of like the jam session is continuing.
How he goes
and
outside.
then suddenly, and here we go, enter Big Chris. Sorry. Yeah, first of all, Harry goes outside and everyone's just fucking.
In
like,
slow motion.
What's going on?
That's one of the scenes I have real problems with because it's like, why is it in slow? It looks like it's made to look like a hallucination, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like slow motion. Then it pauses for a bit, and I feel like Howie would arrest them at that point.
Yeah,
wouldn't?
Yeah. Well, it's like public fornication or something, isn't it? It's
He just goes aside and strop around and goes to bed, doesn't he?
I don't know if it was done in that way because of like censorship laws and they couldn't do it more graphically. But I think that the actual way that they do it is quite weird and it makes him look like he's tripping. Because it's like don't it's done from his point of view, but you don't see in slow motion from your point of view often, do you?
No.
Unless you're like tripping or whatever. But in film language. And I just thought that was weird. And then we have the kind of cobbled in scenes where Christopher Lee turns up in his kilts.
Yeah.
with his
amazing hair.
Perm.
And a teen boy in tow.
Yeah.
It's very... I can't remember this in the original cut, so I'm sure this is an reinstated scene, isn't it? And it's very uncomfortable and weird.
Yeah, basically, Lord Summerisle calls up to the landlord's daughter and introduces this young virgin boy who he's sending up to lose his virginity.
Nice.
As he goes through the pub, they all start doing the banging on the wall, and the guy who wrote all the songs is actually
Gentle
in the pub.
Johnny.
Yeah.
I put my hand on her knee and she says, do you want to see? I put my hand on her breast.
It starts singing Gentle Johnny, which I think is actually a really lovely song. And so Howie is having to listen to this through the
Britt
wall.
Ekland.
Yeah, Britt Ekland deflowering this young boy.
In his brown nylon.
Whilst Christopher Lee's doing a monologue about snails outside on a big rhubarb
This
leaf.
Yes!
And this is what
This is
what I was saying earlier, where this version of the film signposts too early, like what's going on. I don't think this scene is necessary at all, and it just seems a bit weird and
It's all very trippy. It is trippy.
Yeah, it's too trippy for the rest of the film.
There's nothing about this 5 minutes that suggests this is a horror film in any way, shape, or form.
No.
That's why I was just like beguiled watching it. I was like, what's going on? This is mad.
It's more like the rest of it's shot in a very like realist way that it almost looks like a travelogue. So you've got this thing at the start where it's like Summerisle Films Productions or something like that, haven't you? And then it's like, okay, I can kind of see what they're trying to do with that. But then scenes like this really just are like totally unrealistic and not that they're unrealistic. They're unrealistic relatively to the rest of the film. Yeah. Which, particularly, Christopher Lee turning up with his fucking perm and his kilt on and like.
I was trying to figure out if it was a wig.
Snails. It is 100% a wig.
But look how happy he looks though. Have you ever seen him?
I've never seen Christopher Lee smiling.
Have you ever seen him outside?
No.
Apart from like being fighting through a hawthorn bush.
Yeah.
Or falling
he was in a train station. That time they shot it outdoors.
Oh yeah. In
Horror Express.
But all the other films we've seen him in, he looks like he doesn't want to be there.
Yes.
Whereas this, it looks like he's having a lovely
time.
On board.
Well, he's there with Ingrid Pitt. He's there with Britt Ekland. He's there with the other woman who
Diane Cilento.
I'd never heard of her, to be honest. And it
really?
was like reading the Wikipedia. It was like she was a big star that was dragged out of retirement to kind of end life in the Wicker Man. I didn't know who she was.
Although another thing that came up in the commentary I listened to, Mark Kermode said, "Oh, this is the pub where all the cast and crew used to hang out and have have all these parties and stuff." And Chris was like, "I never went and hung out there," and as if like what? And then Edward would go, "Oh yeah, we used to do that," and it's obviously like they all did that, but didn't invite him to come along.
He's going to talk about killing people in World War II again. Look out, here we go. He's gonna ring up
Peter Cushing.
He's gonna ring up Peter Cushing, isn't he? Oh,
don't mention his wife.
But don't whatever you do, he's very upset. But yeah, so the next day, I've just written maypoles.
In the woods there grew a tree, and a fine, fine tree was he.
And on that tree there was a limb, and on that limb there was a branch, and on that branch there was a nest, and in that nest there was an egg, and in that egg there was a bird, and on that bird a feather came, and all that feather was a bird.
Here we go. And, it's such a big touchstone for me, and I know for you too. Like growing up,
maypole dancing.
It's such a big thing, and it was such a big deal that you would have like May Day things, dancing around the maypole and things like that. Ross and I being from Dorset, in the country, and Morris dances, that whole vibe. And of course, growing up as a kid, I never realised the whole phallic aspect of it. Now it's obvious.
Yeah.
But like in this, they go into great detail about it, and I was like, whoa,
too much. Again,
this is the bit which I felt to me. This would be really good on the stage production with the
there was a bird.
Is this the bit before he goes into the school?
Yes.
Yes.
And so apparently, the cut which most people have seen, he only stays in the pub one night. So all of that stuff you've seen is all joined together. So he only stays on the island for one night.
Yeah.
So this is where he would have gone straight off to the maypole and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, right. Okay. That's interesting. I didn't realise that. So then he goes into the school, and then they're kind of duping him, aren't they?
But before the way that the song is shot, it's almost like one of the Cliff Richard movies. Do you know what I mean? It was like the way that the teacher is like he's like pointing at the kids and getting them to sing. And it was really weird. And I've written big recorders are plenty. Because when you're a kid, it's got big recorders, not the little. I
remember.
What was the name of the recorder makers? Was it Alos?
Something like that.
Like that. Yeah. So like the normal size ones that you have to do through blind minds. Yeah, that's right. And then there's those massive ones which look like if you're serious about the recorder, this is the bad boy you want to get on. This is one folk face, isn't it? This is you're not mucking about with folk music here. Right, incredible. And so yes, after the weird musical interlude again. he goes into the school, and what I've put is, does Summerisle get Ofsteded? Right? Because obviously this is before Ofsted
they really don't,
was around. And all I'll say is their curriculum is out there. Out there. I've written down that just on the blackboard it says Toadstone, Hackstone. This protects you from the weird woman. I was like, now these lessons are, they've gone deep off the pedagogical diving board here with these. But
I think you should be doing that in RE tomorrow, James.
Well, maybe so. I'm reliably informed that the thing is, it's quite obvious that from the one-room school that there is one student missing who Woodward figures out is, or claims is the missing girl.
Which is a good scene, and it's a good...
You filthy little liars!
And when they open up the desk, there's like a beetle attached to a string. And apparently that's some kind of pagan thing in reality.
Is it really?
Yes, that's a real life. I'm reliably informed. So I was like, ooh, okay. And I've just put Woodward startled at Wang references. He's, they go, oh, of course, the penis. And he's like, how dare you? And I thought these days in PSHE, and I'm not kidding you here, guys, I don't have to teach PSHE. But I've seen the spec.
I don't know what PSHE is, James.
Oh, sorry. Personal Social Health Education.
Personal Social Health Education.
They have to talk to teenagers about porn now these days. Right? And so, Woodward being outraged at them saying, yes, the penis, that's nothing. C'est rien, as they say in France.
Do they teach them how to cook, James? And
they teach them about cock.
We do have, I'm not going to call it home ec, they got food tech.
Oh,
there is food tech, yes.
Food tech.
In this scene, I noticed that when he's looking through the register, that Rowan was born in 1960, which would mean that now, contemporaneously to this film, she would be 62 years old.
Wow!
Which blew my mind quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because obviously in the film, she's 13.
It's a child, yeah.
So it's 51 years ago or something, or 49. And it's that blew my mind, actually. That and I can remember this film being effectively like a 20-year-old film.
Yeah.
Like in the early 90s, I can remember this being a film when you think of like a film from 2002 now, or 2000, like that's what this is now. So like Shrek or something.
Yeah.
It just, time is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's so all I've said at this point, all I've written at this point is idiots and COVID deniers.
Yeah.
Because
that
I
kind
think
of vibe.
What my problem rereading this film is, I'm not sure whose side I'm on, because I don't know if I'm on his side as a kind of neoliberal, fascistic kind of religious nut. But I'm not on their side either, as a kind of smug pagan swingers.
Which is what I think is good about it, John. We'll talk about it at the end, when we get to his proclamation at the end, when he's like imploring them. But more on that in a second. I've put down that the point, he then goes outside with the teacher, and they have a discussion about the island and about like the religion of Summerisle, because it's obvious that like there is no Christian kind of practice going on here. And I've just put in once again, this is very Midsummer, this bit. It's all like the movie. And this is what they say. It's like, oh no, well, we practice a different religion. And what we do is, we celebrate how, life continues and the changing of life. And I thought, oh, okay, right. That's interesting. And then after this, he then makes his way to the graveyard, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I just want to say on record, on here now, on the General Witchfinders podcast, this is what I want on my gravestone, that he finds a gravestone and it says, this man is projected by the ejaculation of serpents.
Yes, I feel that.
And I thought, I'm having that. But it was either that or poet, philosopher, failure. I wanted. Take your pick, lads. Because you both out with me inevitably.
Was that on one of the headstones in this film?
No, that's always just been what I've wanted. Poet, philosopher, failure. But I will also happily take protected by the ejaculations of serpents. That's good.
Maybe both, just to make sure.
But this is where they find Rowan's grave.
Yes. Well, he finds Is it the pub landlord is mowing the graves?
No, it's just another weirdo. It's a different one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was the same.
They look alike inbred.
They all look the same, don't they? And he laughs a lot, this guy, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where they find the grave, and then on the grave is a tree, and then...
And on the tree, there is a belly button.
No, but what's on the tree?
It's her umbilical cord. Yeah.
Weird.
That's weird, isn't it? It's just...
It is. That's quite creepy.
I think we got umbilical cords and shit like that in drawers around this house.
Are you fucking joking?
No, but it keeps all of it. Anything that falls off the kids is wrapped up and put somewhere.
Disgusting. You want to be locked up.
All the teeth are somewhere.
Like a bloody serial killer. You've got to like 12 umbilical cords in your house. You're like, okay, I can... 2 of those I know about back, but who are the rest?
And he also says, the guy also says, oh, wow, and they present it as horrific. They say, well, we plant a tree over the COVID, and then they've got, and what I've just put is that's pretty commonplace now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I quite like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's weird, how that seems pagan and weird, but that's moved right into the mainstream.
It's just quite sensible, isn't it?
It is. Absolutely it is. It's nice. Yeah. So that's not horrific. But then the bit that is horrific is the next scene. We cut back to the woman and the newsagent, and she puts a frog into the daughter's throat.
Yeah.
And I've just put, that's quite horrific and weird.
I think that's actually when I wrote idiots and COVID and because
liars.
It's that kind of there's no feeling of science or kind of.
I'm sure someone did that in Glastonbury when we was there the other day.
Yeah,
there's no science of or progress or feeling of not progress, but like sophistication. Is it? It's all like old wives' tales.
No, you give the frog your sore throat.
Yes, I think this film would work much better as a book, and I think that's the. I think that's the issue with it, really, for me, is that there's loads of themes in it, but it feels all a bit too...
Apparently, the book it was supposedly based on is completely different, and
really?
The killer is actually the policeman.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I'd quite like to read the book. So then he goes to visit TV's top sextress. Sextress? Is that a word? Sex temptress, Ingrid Pitt, who's one of my favourite horror starlets. She's not in the film enough, and I don't really know why she's in the film. I think it's a case again of getting someone in for like 2 scenes just to get them on the poster, isn't it? Really. So she's in the death registry, and I found this part now. From here on in, I found it quite hard from this point to tell how big the kind of community was, because then there's a scene where you see the public library, which is obviously quite a large public library. So I think what you start off is quite an isolated community, but then when you see how big the library and the fact that they've got like the births and deaths kind of register, it makes me think, like, how big is this bloody community? I think that the library really looked too big for where they were. It just looked odd, really. Do
you remember that programme Ben Fogel went off and lived on an island with his dog? Yeah.
That's how he got famous, wasn't it?
No.
Yeah, anyway.
But it sounds like a very Ben Fogel thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's how he began. Anyway.
Did he set himself on fire inside a Wicker Man?
I wish.
That would have been a hell of an ending, wouldn't it? Season finale. Right.
But again, you see tin fruit in this scene where she opens a drawer to give him something and pulls tin fruit out of the drawer. And I was just like, that's too obvious. Why would you keep tin fruit in a drawer in your desk? You keep it in a kitchen or larder where everyone else keeps it.
Summerisle.
This chair's going. Why does it keep doing that? I'm not going to lean back anymore.
No.
Sensible. So he decides that he's going to go and front up Lord Summerisle, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And amazingly, first of all, you get he goes past a fertility rite going on, which again is very soft porn, isn't it? And again, tonally feels weird.
Another thing which would have made it like, ooh, go and watch that film. There's girls,
there's loads,
but it's really obvious that they're in body stockings from a distance. Another thing I find annoying about it is that there's a filter over that part, which is obviously like a very soft focus filter.
Yeah, so you don't see no fannies.
But it's also, it's like,
Technical term.
whose point of view is that from?
Yeah.
Is that from his point of view, or is that...
Sort of thing when Captain Kirk would look at Joan Collins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Sit on the edge
Well,
forever.
it's a beauty shot, yeah.
Mm.
So you go from him looking sweaty in his police constable, a police
on a little
sergeant's
horse-drawn
outfit.
carriage. Because I realise that you don't see any cars or anything in this
There's
film.
no cars.
Yeah.
No. But then he looks across and it's all very soft focus. It's like, has he got something wrong with his eyes?
So I've noticed out a wonderful Chris Lee line. He turns up and he says, Constable Howie, I trust the sight of the young people refreshes you.
Yes.
And I thought, we've all been refreshed by the sight of young women, haven't we, at some point in our lives?
And young men, maybe, James.
Yeah. Well, perhaps. But yeah, no judgments here.
I just want to point out, this is the second film we've seen where someone goes into a house and there's an enormous organ in the house, which would have been it's been way too loud for anyone to listen to it being played.
You and your enormous organs,
Yeah.
Cleves. So he goes in. Big Chris Lee is hidden away in what's known as a lambing chair.
Ooh.
Yes.
Which kind of covers you up from drafts, and then he pops up, doesn't he, with his fright wig on?
Yeah, that would have been the first point you would have seen him in the normal cut.
Yes. So that's what I remember, and again I prefer that because it's like, here's Christopher Lee now, and it's like you feel like you're moving through the kind of segments of the film, whereas in this cut it's a bit like jumbled, isn't it? And this scene has a bit more of a kind of centerpiece feeling to the film then, because you have this interesting framing of the one shot where they're either side of the frame and they're facing each other like adversaries, and that works really well. Whereas in this cut of the film, you've already seen Christopher Lee in his kilt, which kind of lessens his impact slightly, doesn't it?
This is when we learn, though. Once again, this is your more yet more, kind of plot explanation here and what's going on. That we learn that, and this is one of it. If I'm throwing criticism, he says that he's like the third Lord Summerisle, and it was his grandfather that came in. And I could think, I know. I suppose you can say, look how quickly things have fallen apart in this country. But I did think. 2 generations for everybody to be on board with this.
Yeah,
I thought it should have been like 6-7 generations.
It
back,
takes
I
longer
felt
than that, doesn't it?
does.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says that his grandfather introduced kind of like crazy.
Well, that would have taken it back to the 1800s, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's still quite.
I think if you look at, you want to go.
Yeah, well, if I got my book of like British witchcraft and black magic and all that kind of stuff, the stuff people believe. Like in Victorian times was mental.
The stuff people believe in Weymouth
now.
Jagos particularly.
Yeah.
There are some weird deities in Jagos. George, are you there? Come and talk about Jagos.
You go and rub that big Buddha.
She's getting changed. We were talking about Jagos the other day. What do you say about Jagos, George?
What did she say?
Several things.
We were talking about farmers with one ear.
Yeah.
And very small Indian men.
Wicker Man vibes.
Yeah.
Wicker Man vibes, yes. Yes.
What's the name of our record label?
She'll never forget him.
No.
So
Come back. We'll do that this Christmas. For my birthday, let's all go to Jago's.
All right. Okay, done.
We're going to Jago's for his birthday, George. Give her a cheer in.
Yeah.
Right. So we learn that Big Chris Lee's great grandfather introduced these kind of horticultural innovations, which have enabled them to grow sort of flora that wouldn't normally grow in the Highlands of Scotland, etc., etc., etc. So they kind of lay down the fact that, that's part of the reason why they've been able to have such, rich bounties on Summerisle. But, and as is pointed out later on, that, kind of like it's only a temporary thing. And the way that the kind of horticulture works and agriculture works, you're not going to be able to keep generating these, these crops. And so that kind of explains for you, the audience, to say, that's why the crops have failed. It's starting to go wrong. This kind of 3-generation experiment is starting to collapse.
Yeah.
So therefore, just for the listener's sake, there you go. That's the big bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then once again, Edward Woodward gets very cross, Howie, doesn't he? He's just once again, he doesn't like any of this.
No.
And sort of he thinks that, the wool is being pulled over his eyes, and decides that he needs to go and exhume a corpse. And in true horror film style, and my note is, why does all corpse exhuming go on after dark?
At night.
Yeah.
Why does no one ever do it at the daytime?
Yeah.
Right, it has to be done at night. Just put the thing around the grave.
Yeah.
Just put like a.
Often they're doing it
in rain.
Yeah,
Yes,
but they're often doing it when they're not meant to be doing it, aren't they?
Yes.
He hadn't got. Did he not get permission from Lord Summerisle, or did he?
No, he got permission. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That scene made me think that Summerisle, and a potentially slightly more interesting reading of it, knows that it's all cobblers, and the kind of pagan part of it is a load of rubbish.
Yeah. His family gave that to them.
Yes,
as a way of kind of controlling them a little bit, and
I feel that isn't really kind of elaborated.
It's kind of Wizard of Oz, isn't it?
Yeah, but further down the line, I think that's lost slightly, and I think that's more interesting, and that makes his character a lot more of an arsehole, really. That he knows it's all a load of rubbish, but he's still happy for this guy to be murdered, which I think they could have expanded upon more.
So I can't remember. What is he saying about Rowan? Is he saying that she doesn't exist, or is he saying that?
I think he says she does exist, and it puts you in a very bad position, Sergeant. You should just do what you think is best, kind of thing. So he says, well, I'm going to go and exhume the grave, and Summerisle says, I was under the apprehension that I'd already told you that I'd given you my permission or something.
All right.
So that's what he does. He goes, he digs up the coffin, and then within the coffin is a dead hare.
Dun dun dun.
Well, that's when Howie then goes off to the photographers. Was that in the
this bit was good.
Yes.
I like this bit. He then decides that maybe I've been lied to. The web of lies is starting to untangle.
The web
and so he goes.
That's a good title. Isn't
Thank you. Yeah, so he kind of busts into the photographer, just once again using his "fuck you, I'm a policeman" energy. There's no kind of I best get a search warrant. Bang! Yeah. He just breaks in. And then we have the quite good scene of him going through and looking at the developed pictures. Developed pictures always look quite creepy and quite good. And I put that they go through that bit too quickly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I put the developed pictures are amazing and they show them way too quickly.
And not only can he fly planes, he can also, he knows how to develop and process photographs.
Standard. Yeah.
Well, it's quite easy to do, isn't it?
We've never done it.
I think a lot of people would know how to do that in that day and age, especially a policeman would see it in a lab, in a police station. Because I think a lot of that would have all been done in-house, wouldn't it, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see that as a big stretch.
That's when he sees the picture of Rowan with none of the completely barren harvest. Yeah. So does he then go off to Summerisle and chuck the hair at them? And then have to listen to him and the woman singing that long song?
I think so, maybe, yes. Chucks the dead hair at them and he gets in a right strop, doesn't he? And then it's like, Big Chris Lee looks a bit like one of Spandau Ballet. In like a frilly shirt with a coiffure and a kilt, and then says some waffle.
Yeah, and sends him on his way.
And then, gives him a flea in his ear.
And then we have the famous night at the pub.
Britt's song is the best.
Yes.
So, is this the keystone of the film now?
Hey ho, who is there?
I just wanted to say now, do you like the whole point of this film is, of course, he is a virgin, Woodward, and so that is why he is to be sacrificed. Yes. Now the fact that Britt Ekland is basically trying to give him and entice him in, Are we supposed to read that she's like trying to save him in some way? Because like, would they continue to sacrifice him if he'd given?
I think there's three. Isn't there three things? He has to be a virgin. He has to be there of his own will,
free will and accord.
Yeah, and he has to be a fool.
And he has to be. And he's a fool for the day. Isn't that like he chose by not going with her? He chose to be the virgin, to be the sacrifice.
Yeah.
So he brought it upon himself.
Okay.
Yes. He could have. I believe that's what's happened there.
Interesting. But all I put is Edward Woodward is bathed in sweat.
He is,
in the scene. He's the sweatiest man in the history of the universe.
And that's because he's wearing brown nylon pajamas. He's got nothing to do with Britt Ekland stomping on the floor and whacking the wall.
And it's a Scottish slipstream.
Yeah. It's a very warm night. That's the best song in the film, and I think it works very well. It's a weird scene and it goes on too long because it has to kind of follow the song. So it feels a bit like...
And you need maximum bum shaking in it as well.
Yeah, you're looking at your watch by halfway through thinking, like, how long are they going on? Like, what more can they do with... She's whacked on the wall with her arms. She's shaking her bum about. She's moved her hair around. Because
I can remember watching this for the first time and that being quite... this is quite a lot on nudity for a film. And I think, like I was saying, films which deal with taboos when we're in almost like in a taboo-less
society
now,
oh my God,
it loses all its power.
Yes.
Like sitting next to my dad in the cinema watching Midsummer while someone is being forced to have sex with someone else and just feeling like, well, this is weird. I never thought I'd be watching this with my dad.
Thanks for giving it away, Cleve.
Where are we going to go with horror films now? I think that we are left with jump scares and trying to get a mood of dread. Those are the two things we got now. There's no shot of the can't show that.
I
anymore.
think the most successful thing I've watched recently was Get Out. And then it was the other film that he did, which was called
Us.
I thought those worked really well, but I think the original ideas were both like very Hammer House of Horror TV show ideas. So it's like maybe it's I don't know if there's much new left in the stories to.
I watched a film called it's called Hagsusa. It's an Austrian horror film, and it's kind of like starts off with a little girl living with her sort of like mentally ill, plague infested mother who might be a witch. I don't know, and there's some horrible stuff around like period blood and the mum touching her and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is. And there's like babies being killed and drowned in it and all that kind of stuff. And
why do you watch this rubbish, Cleve?
But this was something I felt like this is trying to do this. Like these are all the taboo. It was like, what are the things which are really, really people would not show on film because they are really upsetting and it's like I was watching. I was like, this is just horrible for the sake of being horrible.
Yeah,
and
I think that's where censorship sometimes makes things work because people have to work harder to make a sense of atmosphere.
Yeah. So I feel like some of the taboos which were being broken in the 70s were taboos because the society was in it. It was in a bit of an uptight position. Whereas I feel like the taboos we've got left now, and give it 50 years, you might look back and go, well, that's nothing. But the taboos we've got now, often are like, that's a really horrible crime, which we don't want to see it because it is absolutely, it would destroy someone's life. Having a bit of swinging in outside the pub is not going to destroy anyone's life, really.
Well,
but some of the child abuse and stuff, which was in this film I watched, it's like that's just scarring, and it's gonna, if someone watches that and it's got something like that happen to them, that is gonna really trigger them and be absolutely horrible. And it's like I suppose if it's a horror film, you should be horrified, but for me, it was just like that is just nasty, and it's I'm not like scared of this. I'm just
cuts down to what's your definition of horror. Do you want to be disconcerted and have something that stays with you for days, or do you want to be jump scared?
Yeah.
Do you want to surprise, horrific? Yeah. I don't want to look at that. And you're quite right to say that's the whole thing about horror is it's got lots of relations to taboo, and that in society which you put off limits, but then at the same time that's always something that's attractive to people, whatever it may be. That's what.
But I think the taboos we've got left. I don't know. It's feel like it's not something which is ever going to become mainstream. Whereas I think some of the stuff which we taboos from the 70s were, I don't know, maybe it just. I feel like if people trying to go down that route now, it's just horrible. It leaves a horrible taste in your mouth.
Shit film.
It's not very nice. And
sounds like the Human Centipede or something.
That was just funny.
An idea that's then, just a pointless film, and you think, why have I watched an hour and a half of that rubbish? Yeah. Like Hellraiser.
Anyway,
so let's strive for the ending now. The next day, it is May Day.
Yeah.
And we then get
that's not Grace Jones in A View to a Kill.
Okay, although it should
we get the hand. What's it called?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, the hand candle. I don't know what that's called.
Is it called the Hand of Glory or something like that?
The Hand of Glory,
it's a brilliant effect, isn't it?
Yes. We'll need one of those for our next Halloween dinner.
Things. Yeah. Cool. So we then get this crazy, this kind of montage, again, tonally quite weird, because it's almost documentary-like in some of the shots, featuring the people like looking and smiling directly at the camera. Wherein we see, like, the Mayday is like, oh, what are you doing here? And
tonally, it's quite strange.
And it's almost comedy in moments.
And Howie's off trying to. He said, "I'm going to search every building on this island to try and find her."
What we should say at this point, dear listener, is that he's knocked out the pub landlord with a candlestick.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Oh no!
We get up to that in a second.
So we haven't had the candle yet, then?
No.
Oh yeah, sorry, man.
After we've had the candle, he knocks out the landlord with the candlestick, and then he dresses as the fool, doesn't he?
Yes,
that's right.
But prior to that, he's running around the island, which again needs a Benny Hill soundtrack of like opening cupboards.
Yeah. Tonally, it's strange.
He dresses up like that's the way to do it,
Mr. Punch.
Mr. Punch. Yeah. And he decides that obviously he's got to get in and follow the Mayday party and celebrations. He needs to be part of them, doesn't he? So,
all I can think of is Max Zorin in an airship, seeing Grace Jones come out of a tunnel on one of those things. Mayday, and it blows up, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to split the San Andreas fault." And then as he dies, he laughs at his own death.
He does, yeah.
I often get what his plan is mixed up with Lex Luthor's plan out of Superman.
It's
a very similar plan.
Yeah.
Both maniacal.
So as we've just discussed, they decide, or Edward Woodward, Howie decides that he's going to knock out the pub landlord who takes the role of the fool. And I've noticed that he knocks him out by hitting him on the back. He doesn't whack him over the head. He just strikes him on the back, and he goes, "Oh!" And
because he's convinced they're going to sacrifice Rowan at the festival.
Yeah, so I said he feels like he's got to get in. Yeah. And then you get this crazy scene where they all kind of take it in turns to put their head into the swords. It's all very pagan.
Do they empty beer into the sea? It was at the Nick Cage one.
No, they do that in this.
Okay,
yeah. Chris Lee, Big Chris Lee gets an axe out, sacrifices some beer to
dresses a woman.
He dresses as Cher.
Yes, weirdly well dressed as Cher.
I'm going to dress up as Christopher Lee in this film at some point in my life.
Brilliant. Add that to the ever-growing list
of Christopher Lee outfits that he wants to wear.
And we then get the amazing line where Edward Woodward kind of gets up alongside Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee admonishes him. He goes, "Where have you been, man? Are you drunk?" Yeah. And then as Edward Woodward obviously stumbles around unconvincingly, he declares, "Cut some capers, man." I thought that's such an amazing thing to say. Cut some capers. got some cake. And he kind of does half-heartedly.
Yes.
And then said we have the we get the does he feel, what's the whole thing with the cave? I've forgotten, as to how they get
Rowan,
to the cave.
they go to the stone circle, don't they? And then Rowan is revealed.
Yeah, she's alive. Yeah.
And then Howie reveals himself and says, "Come with me."
Yes, that's it.
So, yeah.
And they run off to go. And she's going this way. I know a way to go and hide. They go through some caves.
Hold on, just hold on that, because first of all, that was filmed at Wookiee Hole.
Was it?
Oh.
Yes. Wow.
Just the year before Revenge of the Cybermen was filmed.
There you go.
Same place.
Was that filmed in 16mm film?
No.
It was only Doctor Who's filmed in 16mm.
And lots were. I think the only one that was filmed entirely on 16mm was TV's Spearhead from Space.
Interesting.
And John Pertwee's hair, that looks very much like Christopher Lee's in this, doesn't it?
It's remarkable. It all ties together.
I think
it's
all of Pertwee's own hair in that case, though.
Okay.
He's sporting his own hair.
So yeah, we get this chase sequence in Wookiee Hole in the case.
I can't believe they got them all to Wookiee Hole just for that scene. It's so far away from Scotland.
I've put funk interlude in Wookiee Hole. The music gets very Starsky and Hutch kind of wow, wow, wow. There's a lot of wah-wah pedal action happening. And again, I thought, why have they chosen this music for this bit? It's weird. Again, so out of keeping with the rest of the film. And he emerges with Rowan, and then she runs to Big Chris Lee.
I said, did I do it right?
Let's go, did I do it right? And he's delighted, isn't he? It's like, yes. But what I've also put is, blimey, Chris Lee got changed quick.
Yeah.
He got out of his Cher outfit and had all the makeup off and everything. And he's in a totally changed clothes.
Away. Yeah.
How did he do that? Anyway, regardless, it doesn't matter. And then we get to the crux, the climax of the film, in which we're told, I said, in order to make the crops work again, they've got to, Howie is going to be sacrificed. And as John absolutely correctly said, whose side are you on at this point? Because, as he said, Howie says, look, you don't need to do this because the crops and how they work, they're going to keep failing. They're going to keep failing. And he says, who are you going to sacrifice next year when this happens?
Yeah, and he says to Summerisle, he said,
looks totally befuddled at that moment. As if to say, like, oh,
yeah, you're next, mate.
Yeah, kind of. And then he's like, it won't happen. The crops will not fail. And so, yes, that's what I thought. And that's what I enjoyed from this film, was that whole notion of, Howie is too innocent and too naive. And it's that whole thing of, you're Judo-Christian gods. He's been proved to be a lie and what have you. Why are you worshipping that? And see where that's got you. Versus, but yet these people are also believing a lie. And that's what I thought was pretty good. They're all, that everyone involved in this is equally deluded. And all you've got,
this point, aren't they?
Yeah, all you've got at the end are your strange human beliefs and desires that this makes everything okay, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So they go and whack him in the Wicker Man. The big bloke, who we've not really mentioned before, he's been in a pub.
Big Ron from EastEnders.
Big Ron.
It isn't him, but he looks.
No, but he could be.
Who is also in A View to a Kill.
Grabs hold of him, whacks him in the Wicker Man, and oh my God, Jesus Christ, no!
Jesus Christ, no!
And then he gets out his hymn book.
And once again, if he had a copy of Come and Praise with him from school, he could have done This Is the Day That the Lord Has Made, in it, or Who Put the Colours in the Rainbow. That would have been better. And he is drowned out by the people of Summerisle just basically partying down over the fact that, and I also read online that because they also put in some animals in there with him. I thought, nice barbecue, really, wouldn't it? It smells nice.
Yeah.
Right? And apparently Britt Ekland claimed that those animals died.
Yes.
And how to say, no animals were harmed in the making.
And the goats were pissing all over him, apparently.
Oh, God.
But we should point out, and of course then, the end, as it were.
Yeah, spoilers.
But as Ross said at the start, and if you stayed with us for this long, as always, thank you, dear listener. But the when I read into this and read about it, the proposed sequel was that he gets rescued, that the cops turn up at this point. And even though you've seen the Wicker Man destroyed by flames, like the cops turn up and bust him out.
Yeah.
And then what follows in the sequel is an ongoing and increasingly mystical and spiritual fight between Howie and Lord Summerisle involving a dragon at one point.
Yeah.
Is this the Lambton Worm? Or is this the... Sounds amazing.
In 1989, Shaffer wrote a 30-page film script treatment entitled The Loathsome Lamberton Worm, a direct sequel to The Wicker Man. It would have been more fantastical in subject matter than the original film and relied more heavily on special effects.
Oh.
In this continuation of the story, which begins immediately after the ending of the first film, Neil Howie is rescued from the burning Wicker Man by a group of police officers from the mainland. Boo! Boo, that's awful. Right? Howie sets out to bring Lord Summerisle and his pagan followers to justice, but becomes embroiled in a series of challenges which pit the old gods against Jesus Christ, against his own Christian faith. Right. The script culminates in a climactic battle between Howie and a fire-breathing dragon, the titular Lamberton Worm, and ends with a suicidal Howie plunging to his death from a cliff while tied to 2 large eagles.
So he dies anyway.
Yeah. Shaffer's sequel was never produced, right? But his treatment, complete with illustrations, was eventually published in the companion book Inside the Wicker Man. They were, and Hardy was not asked to direct the sequel. Yeah, and as he did not like the idea of Howie surviving the sacrifice. Or he's put the fact that the actors would have aged by 20 to 30 years. that might do it. So, but it says a fan-made full-cast audio drama adaptation of The Loathsome Lamberton Worm is released in 2020.
Oh, I bet that's the right stinker, isn't it?
I bet it is. Yeah, so there you go. Mental.
He's doing it.
As the Wicker Man burns, it collapses in quite a cinematic way. And just as they're shooting through it, it goes to the setting sun, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which I think was a total fluke, wasn't it?
Well, but again, it's one of those things when you look at it, you think, that was shot for real. That all happened. None of that CGI.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's just great. And I love the sound of the sea and the seagulls and everything.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. It's proper filmmaking. It's a good film. I don't know how enjoyable a film it is, and I don't know if I enjoyed it in the way that I enjoy the other films that we watch, which are just mediocre. Like I said, it's just...
Well, we're going to go straight back to some mediocre next week.
And on reflection on it, my final thought that I've put down here is the moral of this story is don't get involved in folk music.
Exactly.
That's my final thoughts on the matter. That's what I put at the end.
My week of Wicker Man has seen me listening to Pentangle whilst working. So.
Oh my God.
No, Ross. No.
My final thought was there's not enough Ingrid Pitt.
Okay, so what do we think? What scores are we going to give it?
Well, James, go ahead.
Oh, okay, well, I have to say, as I've said before, it's the whole, would I tell other people to watch this? Yes. I absolutely, you've got to watch it. It's not like any film, good or bad. I don't think I've ever seen a film like this. No. It's nuts, it's out there. And it's been so influential, and I did find that there were some hilarious bits in it. Cut some capers, man. All of that business. Funk interlude in Wookiee Hole, all of that stuff. So for me, it's a 4.
Oh, wow! High scoring.
That's
enjoyed
it from James.
I did enjoy it, and it said when I thought about its influence and its relation to things like Midsummer, I thought, well, yeah, I'm really pleased to have seen this.
For me, I think it's going to be an all-time low for a film. I can't remember what I've marked anything else.
As always,
but just in terms of how I felt about it this time watching it, relative to lesser films that I probably enjoy more, and I think that's...
You give Deathline 2.
That's what it all comes down to. Did you enjoy it?
That's just subjectively, this, for me, because I've gone below 0, haven't I?
Yeah.
I think this, for me, is a 0. Because I just didn't enjoy it.
That's a shame. I'm sorry. I picked this because I thought you might enjoy it.
Well, I've seen it before and enjoyed it. And this time I watched this cut and I thought, I think this cut actually doesn't help the film. I think this weakens the impact.
Okay. Well, like I said, when I watched it the first time for this, having seen it several times in the 1990s, yeah, I thought, yeah, this is the Emperor's New Clothes. Everyone is telling me this is great, and therefore I'm like, this is not as good. Watched it a second time, liked it a lot more. Talking to you guys again has brought it up to me, so it's going to be a 3 or a 4. I don't know.
I think it's an admirable film, but I don't know if it's an enjoyable film for me.
It's definitely not one of the top 10 British films all made.
No, that's bollocks. Like Dr. No.
It's a 4 for me.
Yeah. When Robert Shaw says old man, and then Sean Connery's like, I knew you wouldn't have red wine with fish, old man.
Yeah.
And then he walks out and he's killed him and he's like, old man. It's like, come on, that's much better than this rubbish.
Okay.
Not enough Ingrid Pitt. If there was more Ingrid Pitt.
More Ingrid Pitt showing her tits.
Class.
There we are, on that bottom step.
We won't do something horrific because I will know
something real horrific.
So now we have something really horrific. Here is updates from my wife Rebecca and my child Talis about the spooky goings on in our home.
Excellent.
You enjoying the
You've
orb
got an
action?
orb there, Cleves.
Yeah.
Look at the orbs.
You saw that yourself then?
Yeah, I saw
Cleves?
that one. Well,
yeah.
I've got some spooky going on in the Cleaver house. Okay, I'm going to play you some audio, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go on then.
Why am I leaning
I don't know why I'm
forwards?
getting closer.
For the tape, can you repeat what you told me about what happened last night?
Okay, so I was up with Talis, who's our 6-year-old. She wasn't feeling very well. And she wanted to talk to me. She was okay. She said she wasn't very well, but she was all right. And so we ended up sat in the middle of her bedroom, in the dark, cross-legged. She was asking me questions. And then suddenly she sort of cuddled into me while looking around, and she said, "They're here." And I said, "What?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And I could see she was looking at something, and her eyes tracked something sort of flying across the room.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, these little light things." And then she was going, "There's one." And then she said, "Hang on, can you not see them?" And I was like, "No, I can't see them." So I looked where she was pointing. And then she said, "There's one over the bed." And she was pointing up in the corner above her mid-sleeper. And I looked, I couldn't see anything. Yeah. And then I said, "Oh,
I don't know why I'm saying yes.
Them a lot?" She was like, "Yeah, I don't like them." I was like, "Really, why?" Oh. And she couldn't really articulate why. And she said, "Oh, sometimes they come through the walls." And then again, she did a thing where she was clearly tracking something moving, like across the room. And then she tracked it all the way down behind her. And then she clapped her hands to try and catch it. And I was so creeped out by it. And we didn't end up really, I sort of said to her, I think it's probably something to do with your eye. You can sort of see things in the dark. But privately, I was thinking, oh my God. I sort of steered her off the conversation a bit. And then after I tucked her in bed, and she seemed fine to go back to bed, she didn't seem like freaked out or anything. I was freaked out. And then I came back and got in bed with you. And then after a couple of minutes or so, and I'd shut the bedroom door when I came in, I heard our doorknob rattling.
Yeah, then I sort of came.
Yeah, because I heard it. I felt you stir straight away. And I just assumed Talis had got back up again, that she was coming in. And they do that, don't they? They do sort of creep in just to really, make you absolutely shit your pants. And it stopped for a bit, and then it did it again. And by this point, I was just looking at the door because I was waiting to see it swing open. And of course, it's so dark, isn't it? So you can't really tell. And then you came to a bit more. And then when it happened again, I said, "Talis, is that you?" And then you did your, this always freaks me out, didn't you? "Who's there? Is anybody there?" And I always think, oh God, don't ask an open-ended question. I only want to know if it's Talis who's there. And we were both looking and listening, weren't we?
But then it sounded like it went along the wall, so I thought, it's people next door.
But yeah, I also thought the same. I heard it from something else. So I think it was someone using the bathroom, whatever, next door, and something was making the door rattle.
Yeah. But then you said it was the heating, and then I went back to sleep.
Yeah, then I thought I heard the heating, our radiator start making a noise. I then remained freaked out for another good 5 minutes before I could go back to sleep. Oh.
You don't have joined floorboards with next door or anything, do you, Cleves?
I don't think so. And this is and I've got another clip here.
Hey, so do you remember last night?
Yes.
Do you remember that at one point we were sitting in your bedroom, weren't we? And we were talking. We were both sitting cross-legged in the dark in the middle of your bedroom. And you came into me like this and you went, "They're here." Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. The little things that float around in the night. Sometimes I see them. Once when I had a bad dream, I went into your room and I saw them. Sometimes they float towards me and I try to catch them, but they're just my eyesight.
Okay. Because, I mean, you looked like you were seeing them last night, because you said to me, "Can you see them?" And I couldn't see them.
Yeah.
What do they look like?
Well, they're just little things. They'll come in a group and then they'll just slide around everywhere. There'll be like random pictures, because last night they were shooting stars and stars. And then they just started floating around and I really don't like it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I saw you watching one yesterday. I saw you followed it with your eyes all around the room and then you tried to catch it.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Yeah. And then there was one you thought you could see floating above your bed, you thought. Remember, up in the corner of the room?
Oh, yeah, I did see it.
So what do they look like?
Well, I did say that they'll just...
I did say.
It depends
on what
time. At that time, they'll just coloured stars. Well, that was when I got close to it to be able to see. I couldn't see the rest because they all float in a group.
What else do they look like?
Well, once there was a party one where there was a party food and balloons.
What?
Mostly balloons.
Well, you've come into our room and seen them, have you?
Yeah, once I did.
Why don't you like them then?
I don't like them because they annoy me and I don't know when they go away because sometimes I just stare and on the second time I blink they go away.
Okay. So sometimes you see them and sometimes you don't see them?
Yeah.
And they just sort of arrived last night because they weren't in there initially, were they, when we were in there?
No, sometimes they just come through the walls randomly.
Okay.
It's a bit obvious when they come through windows, though.
Do you feel scared? Do they make you feel scared?
Yeah, because I'm worried if there's going to be something scary inside them.
Like what?
You should be
like
worried.
A skull or a zombie that is actually walking.
But normally they just sort of disappear?
Yeah, sometimes they just
Hey, did you get up after... You remember when we tucked you to bed?
Yeah.
Did you get back up after then and come to our bedroom door? It's okay if you did. We would not be cross at all.
No.
Wow. Orbs. Your home is an hotspot.
She didn't say she saw skulls. Is that what she said?
She said sometimes they can look like different things, like lights or balloons. And then she said, I'm afraid sometimes I don't know what they're going to look like. And she said, sometimes if they're going to look like a skull or a person walking through the wall.
Oh.
You're like, okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
So I won't be coming to stay in your house, please.
So we had that, and I told you about when I got woken up by someone slapping me on the head.
That's just Becca, isn't that?
No, I was the only one in the house, and I woke up hearing this, like Benny Hill, hearing someone tapping me on the forehead. And I could hear it and feel it, and I woke up.
There was no one there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very odd indeed.
There we go. That's our...
It's very strange.
Spook Central.
Next time on the General Witchfinders, join us hopefully before the end of the month, for the Twins of Evil.
Oh.
I know nothing of this film.
Is that going to be shit enough, John?
Oh, it's so much better than this. You're going to enjoy it so much.
Okay.
A very skeletal Peter Cushing, who is literally mourning his wife. Helen.
Okay, yeah.
I think this is from our favourite year. I think it's
1970s again, yeah.
71. 71 Twins of Evil is. It is magnificent. The set art is brilliant. I can't wait to watch it.
We'll come back soon for Twins of Evil.
Playboy's first ever twin centerfolds.
Oh.
It's a different era.
Yeah. Okay. Until then, happy day.
Stay safe, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the General Witchfinders. Support the show and continue the conversation at patreon.com/General Witchfinders. Subscribe and spread the word at generalwitchfinders.com. Farewell, and don't have nightmares.
I humbly entreat thee for the soul of this thy servant Neil Howie, who will today depart from this world. Do not deliver me into the enemy's hands, or put me out of mind forever. Let me not undergo the real pains of hell, dear God, because I die unshriven. And establish me in that bliss which knows no ending. Through Christ, our Lord.